Sister Val is an alcoholic, or was an alcoholic, I don't know the terminology. She has been on and off since she was 18. Her drinking made her a neglectful parent. I won't go into it, but eventually social services stepped in and I ended up fostering my nephew Danny, who was 6 at the time. When we took custody, Val made almost no effort to see Danny. She missed scheduled visits. Even in the brief periods she was clean after being sent to rehab. Danny grew very resentful, and when she did stick to visits, he would refuse to speak to her, which would drive her into another bender, spiral, or relapse. After 2 years of fostering, my husband and I were given full legal guardianship, which Val voluntarily gave us. Danny is now 11, and Val isn't in his life, which he says is what he wants. Val has been sober for 2 years and only ever asks how Danny is when she speaks to me. She makes no effort to contact him. I have never really said much to her about it because Danny is a happy kid and I think we're good parents to him, and I don't want Val to start contacting him out of obligation and end up hurting him. She's basically just an uninvolved aunt to him. But earlier this week, Val announced on a family group call that she's pregnant, and I couldn't even fake being pleased. My stomach dropped. She's over there grinning, talking about a nursery, while next door to me is the bedroom of the kid she discarded. It's one thing to hold your hands up and say you're not capable of being a mother, but to just decide you can't be bothered to do the work of repairing the relationship with the child you already have, so just to have a new one? I guess I didn't look happy on the video because everyone asked what my issue was. I just said nothing and not to worry because I'll let the child she didn't want know about the one that she did. Val got really upset and her boyfriend got mad at me and the call ended shortly after. My mom says I owe Val an apology. She asked if I thought she should take Danny back or if I resented having him. To be clear, I couldn't love that boy more if he came out of me, and no, I don't think he should live with Val. My mom's point is, if I think things should stay the way they are, then I shouldn't begrudge Val for still wanting to be a mother to someone, and that considering there's nothing she could do right in this situation, I should find it in my heart to be happy she's healthy and finding happiness. My dad agrees with me that she's making a bad decision having another child, but mainly because he feels she's not stable, not because of Danny. He says Danny is my son now, and I shouldn't see it as him being re-abandoned when he's in the best place for him. I just feel like it's so wrong of Val to try and start fresh, like she doesn't already have a child out there that she never even tried with. It seems like she just wants everything the easy way. I'm just so angry that she thinks she doesn't have to take responsibility for the hurt she caused. She can just start the cycle again as if Danny was the first pancake. Am I really the a-hole for not seeing this as a positive thing? No, OP, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe I'm an a-hole as well, could be. But I'm on your side, of course. Maybe it's hurtful what you said, but it's true. And if anybody in this whole story is owed an apology, it is Danny. And it should be Val giving it to him and asking for his forgiveness for being a crappy mom, for being somebody who let alcohol be more important than her child. And I know addiction is a sickness and alcoholism is in there, but to me, the child always comes first, and you do whatever work you need to do to be the right parent to that child. It's not about you anymore when there's a life that depends on you. I also think your dad is right. Danny is your son now, and he's in the best place he could be. That doesn't take away that Val should be asking for his forgiveness. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. KM4098 says, not the a-hole. I have a sister like her, who now has 3 kids to 3 different dads. None are involved. My mother basically raised the kids until she died. Once my mom died, sister spiraled and tried to move in with my dad. Is she stable now? I don't understand your mom's point. Why would you take this as thinking your sister needed to take her kid back? My first thought would be worry you'd end up with a second child to take care of. And Dopey responds, she says she's stable, who really knows? I don't see her much. To my knowledge, she is sober. I've seen no markers of a relapse, so I'm taking her at her word. Emotionally stable? I don't know if she's ever been that. My mom's point is that I don't want her to take back the son she has, and I'm not happy she's having a baby. So she's like, do you think your sister doesn't deserve to be a mother and be punished the rest of her life? And I get what my mom means, but at the same time, I just don't know how Val sleeps at night, or expected that just because she gets to forget about her kid that I do too? Big Butterflix says, you are not the a-hole. When Danny finds out about the new baby, he will easily connect the dots that he wasn't good enough for her to get her crap together for, but the new baby is. He will ask why he wasn't enough. I think that would be a natural response for him. I hope he is in therapy or has worked through some of his abandonment. I feel for him and love he has a wonderful family that cares and loves him, even if his birth mother wasn't capable. Clinew says, not the a-hole. Val already is a mother to someone. She had a child 11 years ago who she consciously chose each day to ignore. If she were really in a better place, she'd be moving heaven and earth for Danny, no matter what that means or the sacrifices she'd have to make. Getting pregnant doesn't absolve her of past mistakes or erase Danny, my god. OP, I'd avoid her and your mother unless they acknowledge the damage already done. And OP responds, I agree, but herein lies why I kind of feel bad. Because she could move whatever she wanted, I wouldn't let her have Danny back, and she knows it. She technically is in a better place, but no court would give her custody back when we've moved a good distance away and would fight her in court. So I feel like maybe part of the reason she's not fighting for Danny is because it would be wasting money because I wouldn't support it. Running Lake 3327 says, no matter how much Danny is loved by you, he will always have the anguish of being abandoned and replaced. I say this because he knows his mother gave birth to him, and now the love that she was supposed to give him, she's given to someone new. I think I would talk to him seriously, let him know that this is not the case, and if you truly love him, I would adopt him so he has an actual mother, not just a legal guardian, but a mother that he knows will never leave. That may help him cope. And Dopey responds, I know that's true, and what makes it worse is that he remembers living with her. When we first got him, he would cry and cry for her, for someone who didn't even bother to feed him most days. It was only after living with us for a while that he realized how abnormal that was and got angry with her. He says he doesn't remember anything good about her. I don't know if that's true, but he knows she didn't care, and I'm sure that hurts him and probably will for his whole life. And Alexis97 says, not the a-hole. You are protecting who your family is failing. Your sister needs psychological help clearly, and your mom might too. Can't blame her for wanting to be a mother to someone. Just say you don't like your grandchild. Holy F. Side point. The fact that people who get kids taken away or lost custody and do nothing to improve it or get them back are allowed to keep having more will never ever make sense to me. Edit, because I'm actually so mad at your parents. Your dad sucks too. Sorry. The child absolutely will see it as being abandoned again. Please go low contact with the family for the sake of Danny and get him a therapist now to help process the sibling situation. And Dopey responds, my parents have been good parents to me, and they're great grandparents to my children. I'm not going to cut them off. They love Danny and my daughter, and I think they did a good job with me. But yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Val's child. I'm taking myself out of that equation. I'm not going through all that again. I paid for her rehab twice. And yes, she's sober, but on a personal level, it seems like she's learned nothing. Well, the community agrees OP is not the a-hole, and I still think that what Val needs to do is beg her son for forgiveness. She doesn't need to take him back, she just needs to say, I'm sorry I failed you as a mother. Take accountability. Anyways, let's move on to the update to see how this story ends. Hi, I noticed a lot of people either DM'd me asking for updates or put the update me thing in the comments, so I thought I would come and post one. I was really touched by people sharing their personal experiences in the comments as well, So I just wanted to respect that by providing closure on this, if you would consider this closure. Anyway, on to the update. First, my husband told Danny about the baby. They went out for a boys' day on Saturday and they talked about it. I won't share too much about it, but he took it pretty well, all things considered. We do think we will book a few sessions with a therapist for him, but we want the dust to settle a little bit. Danny opens up easier when he's had some time to himself to think about things first, so we're going to give it a couple of weeks, but he's doing well for now. Next, I spoke to my mom. A lot of people were quite harsh on her, which I don't think was deserved, but I did feel like we needed to have a conversation. My mother is the kindest and most forgiving person on the planet, and I love that about her. The same way I saw what Danny went through, she saw what Val went through with her birth mother. I look at Danny and see a scared little 6-year-old. My mom looks at Val and sees a traumatized teenager, so she has a different perspective. Some context on this. Val is my stepsister. Her dad is my stepdad, but he's the one who raised me, so I just call him Dad. She lived mostly with her mom until she developed serious behavioral issues and it became clear that her mother was not a safe person to have custody, and she came to live with us full time. It doesn't really change anything emotionally, but I know people were asking. Anyway, my mom's pretty much all's well that ends well in mindset. She always has been. She likes happy endings. In her mind, this is one. But she understands that she came across really flippant about what Danny went through, and she does feel bad about it in hindsight. She adores Danny, so me laying it out for her all over again really affected her, and she saw where I was coming from being upset. She did say she still hopes that Val is a better mother to her new baby, and at least we can both agree on that. Finally, I spoke to Val. She apologized for not telling me beforehand, but said she felt like she needed the support of having our parents there because she was nervous to tell me and felt if we were all on the call, it might feel a bit more like a normal, joyful occasion, but she said she knew she should have spoken to me separately. She said she will always regret the things she did while not sober, and she doesn't think Danny should ever forgive her, but she always wanted to be a mother, and she finally feels like she will be a good one now. I was listening to all this thinking I was just going to leave things where they were and stop reaching out, but then she basically said after everything, don't I want her to be happy? And here's where I have to admit to maybe being a bad person. But viscerally, I wanted to answer no. And I realized the answer is actually no, I don't want Val to be happy. I want her to be sober and healthy, and I guess to have moments of happiness. But when I think of her living a happy life, I know that isn't what I would choose for her. I know that makes me a bad person, and I'm actually okay with that. People can judge me, I don't care, because they didn't have to walk to some dingy government building and see a child with bones sticking out of his t-shirt, scared of every loud noise, and take him home and watch him hide cold fries under his mattress in case there wasn't food to eat tomorrow. They didn't have to teach a 6-year-old the alphabet. They didn't have to look at him crying for his mother and figure out how to tell him you don't know where she is. Thinking to yourself how sad it is she's all he cares about when she's somewhere not giving a crap what's happening to him. The worst things Val ever did, she did to someone I love beyond measure, and it's not for me to decide who deserves to be happy, but I can't say I hope she is. Obviously, I didn't have all this clarity during the phone call, but I did have enough to be honest and say my family and I were not in a place where it would be possible to engage with her anymore. She didn't take this well, and a lot of stuff she's been hanging on to came up, like how I should have tried harder to get Danny to talk to her, how she felt I wasn't present enough when she had Danny, all stuff from years ago. She called me spiteful, and her boyfriend later sent me a message saying the same, but it had to be done. I don't want to be in this toxic cycle of actively wishing someone doesn't have the life they want and keeping them in my life just to stir this up every few weeks. It's too much bad energy being put out there. I ended up blocking both Val and her boyfriend. I let my parents know that we'll have to do separate holidays and functions from now on, and they were very understanding. I'm happy to give Val priority on stuff with her dad's side of the family, and she can do the same with my mom's, and that's that. My parents also promised not to give updates unless asked, to either side. I'm not really sure if I'd say this is a happy update, but I think the positive I can take from this is it's made me very grateful for the family I have, and I'm just going to focus on being the best mother and wife to them that I can be. Thank you again to everyone who commented, and if I've left anything out, feel free to let me know. Additional information from OP's comments. A few people mentioned Danny potentially still wanting his mom deep down, and that's something I worried about for a long time too. But from what his therapist has told us, he's not stuck in that place. If anything, the resentment he feels towards Val has helped protect him from blaming himself or constantly hoping she'll suddenly show up and be the parent he needed. I know that's not exactly how it works in a neat, logical way, but for him, it's meant he's been able to move forward without being trapped in that cycle. Something else people asked about whether Val even wants a relationship with him now, and the honest answer is not really. She's pretty ambivalent about it. She asks how he is sometimes, but there's no real effort there, and I don't think more information about what he went through would change anything. She lived with the reality of it at the time, and it still didn't make a difference. As for her boyfriend, I don't think he's a bad person. He doesn't have any history of addiction as far as we know, and he's a high school teacher, so he has some level of stability. But I do think he has a bit of a savior complex when it comes to Val. I don't see him leaving her even if things went downhill again. I think he'd stay and try to prove he can make it work no matter what. Some people also suggested reporting things early, but it's not that simple. If a child looks fed and clothed, there's often nothing that gets picked up straight away. A lot of the times, things only get acted on once there's already been damage done, which is a really hard reality to sit with. And just to be honest about where I'm at mentally, I'm not trying to fix how I feel about Val. I don't think I owe her that. If I ever get help for it, it will be to let go of the weight of it for myself, not to rebuild anything with her. Also, a lot of people were worried we'd end up taking the new baby if things went wrong, and I just want to be very clear, that's not happening. We have 2 kids in this house, and that is our limit. It's not something we would consider, even in difficult circumstances. I've thought about whether I should have said more to her, but I don't think it would have changed anything. If anything, it would have been harder to say everything I feel and have it met with the same indifference. At this point, distance really does feel like the healthiest option for all of us. I absolutely agree with you, OP. You have your focus on your family. That's it. And to Val, I truly hope that she is better and that she does live up to being the mom that she has to be. So here's wishing you for the best in the future. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Petty Revenge and it's by user Tellybolt. Created a problem to keep my annoying neighbor occupied and get some peace. In the early 90s, we bought a new house on a lot that was recently severed and sold from the neighbor's property. It was a large corner lot divided into 2 parcels. The back parcel was originally intended as a second driveway to connect the side road to the neighbors, but was mistakenly sold to us. Our neighbor, a known grumpy old guy, insisted that this back parcel was his property and was never intended to be sold. He and his lawyer messed up. He would often stand there right in front of our bedroom windows to kind of mark his property. Trying to have a reasonable conversation with him was impossible. I repeatedly told him that I had the deed and that the property line wasn't going to change. His wife was rarely seen as she had limited mobility and spent most of her time watching TV connected to a C-band satellite dish. At the time, I was working in wireless and had access to test equipment. To find a way to keep the neighbor occupied and hopefully give us some peace, I decided to generate interference that would jam his satellite signal. I set it up on a timer, so this signal would cut out 10 minutes before the hour and come back 10 minutes after, meaning they would consistently miss the beginnings and ends of their TV programs. This definitely kept him busy trying to figure out what was wrong. He even called out technicians, but of course, the issue never occurred when they were there. I could often hear his frustrated outbursts, and I imagine his wife was adding to the pressure. After a few weeks of this, I walked over to him while he was fiddling with the dish and casually mentioned that I worked in wireless and had some knowledge of satellite communications and maybe I could take a look. He was immediately interested, so I climbed up the ladder, pretended to adjust something, gave him some technical sounding nonsense about what I had found, and then told him it was fixed. I then stopped the interference coming from my house. A few days later, he came over to thank me profusely, saying I had fixed it when no one else could. From that day forward, he was the friendliest neighbor and never mentioned the contested piece of land again. Well, Opie, I don't know if this is a petty revenge, but it's definitely a great way to get your neighbor to like you. Thanks so much for sharing. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.